the scorched valleys of a forgotten war-torn land, where the earth itself seemed to bleed under the relentless barrage of artillery, Ilara Voss clung to the shadows of a crumbling bunker. She was a medic, her hands stained with the blood of strangers, her heart heavy with the weight of lives she could not save. At 28, Ilara had once dreamed of healing in peaceful clinics, but fate had thrust her into this inferno. Her name, whispered like a gentle breeze, meant shining light in ancient tongues. Yet here, amid the dust and despair, she felt like a flickering candle in a storm. The ground battle raged on, a symphony of chaos. Soldiers from both sides clashed in the narrow ravines, their shouts drowned by the thunder of machine guns and the distant roar of tanks. Ilara's unit, a ragtag group of defenders, held a precarious line against the advancing enemy. Among them was young Liam Hartley, a boy of barely 16 who had lied about his age to join the fight. His name evoked images of rolling hills and hearty laughter, but his wide eyes now reflected only terror. Liam had become Ilara's shadow, a reluctant apprentice in the art of survival. "Stay close," she had told him that morning, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her soul. As dusk painted the sky in hues of crimson and ash, the air grew thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder. Ilara knelt beside a wounded comrade, her fingers deftly wrapping a tourniquet around a shattered leg. "Hold on, Marcus," she murmured, her emerald eyes meeting his fading gaze. But the enemy pressed harder, their mortars raining death from above. A shell exploded nearby, sending shards of rock flying like vengeful spirits. Liam screamed, clutching his arm where a fragment had grazed him. Ilara pulled him behind a fallen wall, her heart pounding like war drums. High above, Captain Alexander Kane piloted his fighter jet through the turbulent skies. Alexander, a name that carried the strength of kings, suited him well. At 35, he was a veteran of the skies, his sharp features etched with the lines of too many missions. His call sign, Phoenix, spoke of his uncanny ability to rise from the ashes of near-death encounters. Today, his squadron had been tasked with providing air support to the ground forces below. The jet, a sleek predator of steel and fire, hummed beneath him, its engines a low growl against the wind. Alexander scanned the battlefield through his cockpit visor, the thermal imaging painting a grim picture of the conflict. "Ground control. This is Phoenix 1. Requesting coordinates for strike," he radioed, his voice calm, almost detached. But detachment was a lie, he told himself. Each bomb dropped carried the ghosts of innocence. As he banked low for a reconnaissance pass, something caught his eye, a flash of movement amid the ruins. Not soldiers, but civilians? No, it couldn't be. The briefing had assured him the area was clear. Diving closer against protocol, Alexander felt a pull in his chest. The jet screamed low over the valley, its afterburners leaving trails of fire in the twilight. Below, Ilara and Liam froze as the shadow of the aircraft eclipsed them. The roar was deafening, shaking the ground like an earthquake. "Get down!" Ilara yelled, shielding Liam with her body. But the jet didn't unleash its payload. Instead, it circled as if searching. In that moment, Alexander's world narrowed. Through the canopy, he glimpsed her, a woman with auburn hair whipping in the wind, her face defiant yet vulnerable, and the boy beside her wide-eyed and trembling. Civilians. No medics, perhaps. His heart raced. The enemy was closing in. He could see their advance on his HUD. Protocol demanded he strike, but humanity whispered otherwise. The jet's low pass sent waves of panic through the battlefield. Enemy soldiers scattered, mistaking it for an imminent attack, while Ilara's allies cheered faintly from their foxholes. But Ilara knew better. The pilot had seen them. Why else would he fly so perilously close? Who was that? Liam gasped, his voice barely audible over the receding thunder. "Someone who might save us or doom us," Ilara replied, her mind racing. She had heard tales of pilots who defied orders, guardians of the sky who bent the rules for a greater good. As she tended to Liam's wound, binding it with scraps of cloth, memories flooded her. She thought of her brother. Lost in a similar battle years ago, his body never recovered. That loss had forged her into this unbreakable force, yet it left cracks where doubt seeped in. Alexander pulled up sharply, his jet climbing into the clouds. "Command negative on strike. Possible friendlies in the zone," he reported, knowing the backlash it would bring. His co-pilot's voice crackled in his ear. "Alex, you're risking court-martial. Confirm visuals." But Alexander's resolve hardened. He had lost too many to blind obedience, friends, lovers, pieces of his soul. Isabella, his fiancée, had left him because of the war's toll, her parting words echoing, You're flying toward death, not life. Looping back, he descended again, this time even lower. The jet's wings skimmed the treetops, a daring maneuver that pushed the machine to its limits. Alarms blared in the cockpit, terrain warnings, fuel alerts, but he ignored them. Below, the ground battle intensified. Enemy forces regrouped, their tanks rumbling forward like beasts awakened. Ilara's unit was outnumbered, their ammunition dwindling. In a flash of inspiration, Alexander activated his countermeasures. Flares erupted from the jet, brilliant stars that lit the valley and disrupted enemy targeting systems. The low flyby created a sonic boom that rattled bones and shattered resolve. Enemy soldiers hesitated, some fleeing in confusion. Ilara watched in awe as the jet banked sharply, its underbelly exposed like a vulnerable underbelly of a dragon. But danger lurked. An anti-aircraft missile locked on, streaking upward with deadly intent. Alexander jinked left then right, deploying chaff that glittered like falling stars. The missile detonated harmlessly, but the shockwave buffeted his craft. "Mayday, Phoenix 1 taking evasive," he grunted, fighting the controls. The jet shuddered, engines straining. On the ground, Ilara seized the moment. "Now, push forward." She rallied her comrades. With Liam at her side, they advanced, reclaiming lost ground. The boy's fear transformed into fierce determination, his name's warmth fueling his courage. As the jet circled once more, Ilara raised her hand in a silent salute, her eyes locking onto the distant silhouette of the pilot. Alexander saw it, a gesture of gratitude amid the madness. It pierced him like an arrow, reminding him why he flew, not for glory but for moments like this where one life could tip the scales. As night fully claimed the valley, the battle's fury began to wane. Alexander's daring runs had turned the tide. Enemy reinforcements faltered, retreating under the cover of darkness. His jet, battered but unbroken, limped back to base. Ejecting flares had bought precious time, but at a cost. His fuel was critically low, and a wing spar cracked from the stress. Landing roughly, Alexander stumbled from the cockpit, met by stern faces of his superiors. "Reckless, Kane. You endangered the mission," his commander barked. But Alexander stood tall. "I saved lives, sir. That's the mission." Whispers spread through the hangar, tales of the low-flying phantom, who defied death for the ground pounders. Miles away, Ilara and Liam huddled in a makeshift camp, the survivors' faces illuminated by flickering fires. The boy slept soundly for the first time in weeks, his wound cleaned and bandaged. Ilara stared at the stars, wondering about the man in the sky. His actions had given them a fighting chance, a sliver of hope in the abyss. Days later, fate wove their paths together. Alexander, grounded pending review, volunteered for a supply run to the front lines. As he unloaded crates in the valley, a familiar face approached. Ilara, her uniform tattered but her spirit unbroken, extended a hand. "You saved us," she said softly, her voice like a melody in the silence. Alexander met her gaze, seeing the light her name promised. "I saw you. Couldn't let it end there." They talked through the night, stories of loss, dreams deferred, the fragile beauty of humanity amid war's ugliness. Liam joined them, his youthful energy bridging the gap. "You're a hero, sir," he beamed. In that connection, something profound bloomed. Alexander found purpose beyond the cockpit. Ilara rediscovered faith in strangers, and Liam learned that courage wore many faces. The fighter jet's low flight became legend, a tale of defiance that inspired weary souls. Years on, in a world piecing itself back together, Ilara and Alexander stood hand in hand, watching Liam, now a young man, train as